memo, the Planning and Development Department is recommending approval of PC 0126 with the condition that new shrubs and ground cover be included in the design and future plantings to ensure replication of the current visual screening at the pedestrian level. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Christian. As a reminder, each member of the public will be given 3 minutes to speak when we open the public hearing. Does any commission member have any ex parte communication to disclose? I'm hearing none. Would the applicant please come forward to be sworn in and give any presentation?
Please raise your right hand and state your name and address. Nick, I'm going to have you tap the mic as well. Just, there you go. State your name and address.
Nicholas Johnson. My home address?
You can use the Penman address.
803 6th Avenue North is my home address,
Okay.
right here in Jax Beach.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you.
As a reminder to the commission, please refrain from interrupting the presentation and hold questions to the end. You may proceed.
Thank you for meeting with me tonight. I'm Nicholas Johnson, and I'm here on behalf of Beaches Energy Services. Currently, we are undergoing a transformer rehab project at the Penman substation, and as part of that, it's $1 million project currently, and the initial kickoff to the transformer refurbishment project was due to the rust on transformer 1 and 2 at Penman substation. These are $3 million assets. They take 3 years to get. If we ordered one today, it would be 36 months before we'd even see it on site. So it'll take a while. That being said, as a ratepayer, I've never wanted to incur any additional costs. Want to try to value engineer things the best we can. One savings opportunity is to stop the rust propagating properties that are going on, which is the leaves and plant materials coming off the larger trees above the wall, from propagating against the transformers. So they store moisture, like kind of the intro said here, and that's causing rust. We've had a 1/16 of an inch of rust propagate through the 3/4 inch thick steel. That being said, if we go another 1/4 inch further, then we're like structurally damaged where we'll have to replace transformer either way. These are scheduled on a life cycle of 40 years. They've only incurred 22 years up to date of a life cycle, so we're another 20 years out, and we're already spending $1 million just to revamp them now. Waukesha, the manufacturers, came out. They've identified the root causes of the rust, large part being the trees and vegetation around it. So anything we can do to mitigate that, we've mitigated the foundation designs and everything, and this is the last portion of it. So we don't take it lightly to remove trees. I don't know if we have a firm arborist stance or anything at Beaches Energy, but it's just not something. We're not trying to just remove trees to remove them. So as a good steward of the public and the initial feelings of what the 2002 contract was to repurpose the land, build the low substation in there, build the wall, hide the wall, which I kind of don't understand that part, but we build a wall and then we hide it. But to keep up with that, we wanted to go back with like a patio ligustrum. We had landscaping crews come out. Multiple people have bid this like since 2024. We've looked at ways to like kind of fix up the current vegetation. One of the designs was $265,544, which is quite a bit. Over $250,000. That was 2 years ago, so maybe more now. We had another proposal for $51,000, which was close to what you guys are viewing now. And the third proposal we got is for $63,528, and that gets the current view of what you're seeing with the patio ligustrums. One note that was mentioned to us when we initially applied for the tree removal permit was that we should go back with 43 trees, and I was like, that kind of makes sense. So we got the new quote, and that's where the $63,000 comes in. We're hesitant to increase price due to ratepayer impacts moving forward. Also, you have a benefit of, without the additional shrubs underneath and the additional mulch required, you have a lower landscaping maintenance fee moving forward year over year. That being said, the patio ligustrums do require some minimal maintenance, but are a very slow growing tree in the sense of we have to trim it every other year. And keeping with that, a good grass cover underneath and upgraded, what's the irrigation system, gets all fixed. It'll at least have a visual aesthetic of better than what we currently have out there. I don't know if you guys have seen Penman Road substation lately. And so I do hear your recommendations on the conditions to have new shrubs and ground cover included in the design in future. I would like to propose that we stick with just the patio ligustrums as the design lays out, but there are two vacant walls along the front, like two outcrops. So if you see the design, you'll see the dots for the patio ligustrums, and you'll see along Penman Road, there's two sections on the north and south side of the drawing that are void of them. I would like to propose adding those if that meets halfway on what the recommendations are. But I think right now this is the most value-added solution. I think it's the least impact to ratepayers. I think it gives us the most longevity out of the equipment. So from all angles, I think this is the most cost-effective solution. And that's after I've got 3 proposals from Prestige, and then the 4th one is the proposal you see today. And that's the most comprehensive by far. And then I have a $250,000 solution provided by Chinmore and Associates that I just don't want to put the ratepayers up against that. And likewise, I don't want to also ruin $3 million transformers. So there's a concern on both sides there of trying to make the best economical decision, but stay in the gist of what the original contract was written to. So I thank you for your time, and if you have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you for your presentation. Do any commission members have any questions for the applicant? Please go ahead.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I'll return back to ex parte perhaps because I called and spoke with Christian today. Staff.
I'm staff. That doesn't.
Okay, great. All right. Well, then on that. Then on the questions. Thank you to the presenter for sharing the addition to address staff's recommendation of adding in ground cover. I had a question for our applicant and our board members about the Penman Road Improvement Project, which I looked at the different segments, and in we'll call it the bump out or the blank wall that's closest to 12th Avenue North, that's where is a proposed pedestrian crossing to go over to what would be the new path on the eastern side. And so I think the suggestion to add additional ligustrums would be a good one there to soften that. I'd like to talk about additional grasses in some sense for the pedestrian experience along the wall. I think along that whole length of the building, if there's some exploration of that, I think I understand the shrubs are causing a maintenance issue. So what are your thoughts on that? And then to my fellow board members about any grasses in a limited sense that would balance that look.
So I'm no landscape architect. Do not claim to be. I reach out and outsource this. But my personal experience, we have removed 2 different vagrant beds and cots and multiple totes, and just they continue to return. I'm not sure who brings them there, but that's a bit of a safety concern. And as a pedestrian, I don't like when my guys have to go out there and they're just maintaining the fence, and just have to be exposed to a potential hiding spot for that. And I do have growing concerns too if there's like a crosswalk or something like that, a potential hiding spot or something like that to keep that. It doesn't seem to go away, but it's a great hiding spot for something like that, which is a personal concern of mine. But I don't want that to reflect any way trying to get away from putting additional shrubs. If that's the recommendation of the Planning Commission, we'll see what we can do to put more shrubs in. But I'm also concerned about the increase in maintenance costs of adding like additional mulch beds, additional trimming or whatever is incurred other than they're already going to cut the grass there. So we're going to have to pay for that. I would love if they could just come in and just do the weeding, the grass, trim the trees every year or so. and that be the maintenance versus additional mulching, additional shrubs, if possible. I understand the original document was written to. It was a very elaborate what we have now, but I would recommend against a more simpler solution, and try to meet the feel of the original agreement, if possible. I'm not objecting, but I'm just asking if we could consider that.
And so we'll have an opportunity to discuss amongst ourselves once there's a motion. So right now we're just asking questions. Yep. Are there any other questions?
One follow.
Oh yeah,
Mr.
please
Then-
continue.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson, in the proposed landscape graphic that we have, it looks like to be mulch beds. So to clarify, would that not be, you would have on the image that we're looking at, we'll just have plantings and then sod up to the trunk? And
The way
illustration, yes, sir. It looks
I-
like they're
I see,
adding in
yeah.
mulch beds that are framed, and so just for clarity.
So they have cypress mulch in the quote from Prestige. So as it's viewed there is my understanding the way it will look. That
Okay.
rendering should be as close
To what we're gonna-
realistically to what
Thank you.
it should look like finished.
Thank you.
Mr. Dahl, I believe you had a question.
Thank you. Nick, what would you tell me what your modifications are, and just the clearest, non-engineer, regular guy?
Yeah.
One more time, please, so I know what I'm voting on, because I'm still confused.
Yes. So Penman substation is basically just a walled substation. It's got like 10-foot walls all around it. Right outside that, before the sidewalks, there is it's like bushes and shrubs, palm trees, oak trees. We're saying, hey, we would like to cut all those down to nothing. It'll be strictly grass all the way around, and then come back and plant 43 patio ligustrums, which is like a little tree. I didn't know what it was. I'm saying it like I know it. I'll be honest with you. I look on this picture, and that's what it's supposed to look like. And that's the end goal. Is it will just look like that.
That's the
on
buffer
3
around
sides.
the wall.
Yeah.
Okay. Cost and long-term maintenance. You said you got 22 years left, or 18 years left on your transformers.
Yes.
How long are these gonna? What are they gonna cost over 18 years? Do you know?
I did
Are they
not.
the most economic choice?
I don't have a actual maintenance budget going into 2026 as far as what the increase would be and decrease.
Okay.
Right now we would be maintaining less plants, and that's the thought. It will be less
Okay,
since we have less to maintain.
Because I heard you say the public, the ratepayers, the public, the ratepayers.
Yeah,
We're all there. I'm with you.
yeah.
I wanted to hear what I'm saving, so you just told me.
Yeah,
Thanks.
but I want it to look appealing too. I don't want it
Absolutely,
to.
it's a buffer there, so people aren't. Yeah.
Yeah, Miss Lindsay had a great point when talking about people running by there, even like on their jogging route, and I was like, I have ran by there before, not often. Probably walk back, but it was like I was like, yeah, that would look different, And then I was envisioning myself going across the crosswalk when that comes out, and I didn't understand the concept because I stick with engineering, I'm not doing landscape, but I was like, okay, yeah, I get the idea. It would look less appealing when you walk into a wall.
Okay, so you got more appeal. You get rid of the detritus that's causing the transformers to corrode, and you're doing the right thing for the taxpayers.
Trying to.
Thank you.
We'll see. So a couple of questions for myself. Maybe just one. Actually, a couple. So, yeah, I'm with you, and I appreciate your call out about removing trees and that not being something you take lightly. I know that that's a value of all the agencies and institutions here. So thanks for calling that out, because I know people are really sensitive to that, myself included. So one question would be, and I'm sure there's a cost to it, but is there any consideration or possibility of like moving any of the trees, like the palm trees, or is that like kind of out of the question? I do see that they're quite mature, so I'm guessing the answer is no. But has that been considered?
without being an arborist or any kind of landscape professional, I don't know the price. I making a blanket assumption, it would be well over $1,000 per tree
Yeah,
to even uproot one with that like 4 paddle looking thing.
like double your cost, basically. Yeah,
I would assume that or better.
cool.
Even the big engineered project design and everything to fix that scenario back, it was just stump grind everything. It wasn't even remove anything, and that was still $250,000. So
Oh, wow.
that's where I was. I only have like another higher quote to go by that was more extensive, and then I had no experience on how much it would cost to remove that.
I don't either. So just curiosity, if they could be put to use. But the other question I have, so thanks for that, and no worries. I'm also not an arborist. Don't expect you to be. The other question I have is just you mentioned sod and the patio ligustrums. Also not an arborist, also not a botanist or a landscaper, but I do know that there are local ground covers and local tree varieties. And I'm curious if the patio ligustrum is a local variety, and sod is definitely not. No, you don't know. Okay, so I don't know either, but I want to pitch it out there, and it is something that we have the ability to approve with conditional use. So it might be something, or approve with conditions. So it might be something we take back to conversation here. But if there is a way without impacting costs to pick a similar but local variety, it might actually save you in ongoing long-term maintenance and ground covers like pea grass and stuff that are local. If there is a way to keep your cost flat, but consider local natives to this area, it might help with your ongoing maintenance costs. But then it's also just for basically reducing the headaches of trying to sustain a plant, for example, that wasn't like if those trees are not zoned or not matching to this zone, then you have a big freeze come up like we just did, and then they all die, and then your investment is shot. So just kind of making sure that those kinds of options are considered with the landscaper that you go with if they have those options available. Curious if the conversation came up. If it didn't, that's okay and expected, and we can bring that back for discussion here.
That did not come up. Could I conditionally, as long as I provide that I present that question to Prestige Landscapes, who will be doing the project, if I provide a question to them stating that could a naturally occurring grass or something to that natural to or indicative to this area?
Hey, native to this zone and area, and they'll probably understand the question better than you and I could phrase it.
Yeah.
And please continue your question because I think the answer is going to be yes, but go ahead.
Yeah. If it is non-cost, if it does not increase cost, I will ask them if they can provide a native species, and then I can provide that email or in writing because I'll probably call him and see if if they can do something like that. I can write an email and then I can CC you guys if that's okay, as far as like a proof to kind of keep this project going. Because again, I've also got like $1 million of work that's happening right now that the root cause is still sitting right there, and I was hoping we could get this part knocked out too, but I just don't want it to propagate again and re-rust everything that we've spent a lot of money to fix. But I think that's a simple enough question to ask. I imagine the answer may not be a yes, but I would like to see that, and I'll expand that to as well if there is a patio ligustrum. I don't know if that's a native species either, and that's like we have Bahia grass and patio ligustrum. So I'll see if
It is a native. That's great. So perfect. It's in our prep for.
It's in our, yep, and Christian probably is going to address it.
Yeah, it is. It's a non-native in that it's technically Japanese privet, but it's not. They don't propagate so they're not invasive in the sense that they're going to spread. The only native privet that we have is more of a shrub. It doesn't really get above like 5 or 6 feet typically, and it grows more in drier central Florida. It doesn't really make its way up here all that often. More inland if it does. So this is an acceptable species. It thrives here, does well.
Mine did okay. I have Japanese
Yeah.
Japanese privet
Yeah.
in my yard, and it was fine in the freeze. And that's kind of what I'm getting at, is that we're not creating headaches by the species that we picked, especially when we just had a crazy hard freeze and everybody's yards are falling apart. And then for the sod, do we recommend, or do we have anything in the code related to ground cover or native ground covers?
We have some generalities. Our code mostly focuses on trees as far as ground cover. Let me see. I mean, generally, obviously, xeriscape native stuff is really the best. We generally just refer to grass sod. We don't get into, anything except noxious invasive species that aren't recommended. But most native grasses are clumping as far as they're not like sod, they don't spread.
Well, yeah, I mean, pea grass is everywhere in Florida. That's the
Yeah.
common one.
There are plenty of other ground covers that can be used, like the decorative peanut, things like that remain relatively short and typically
Peanut grass, that's one.
Yeah, they're very drought tolerant. They're typically plugs as opposed to sod, so the insulation and growth takes a little bit longer. There's also a lot of what we consider decorative grasses that are native. I cannot think of the name of it off the top of my head. Not wiregrass, but there's a couple that are, they'll grow 3-4 feet in diameter. You can trim them with like a hedge trimmer or a string trimmer. They're not maintenance intensive. They again don't tend to spread. So I don't know that there's a good substitute for sod that's going to grow in quickly.
Yeah.
But there are some alternatives out there. Generally, the typical grass species that we use here for sodding are okay, relatively drought tolerant. They already have irrigation there, so I think, in that sense, that'll probably be fine.
Cool. That's my question. I don't know if there are other questions. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, you might have asked a question. The Christian proposed as part of his planning report to include both the 43 trees and the shrubs. You're saying from your end to include the additional shrubs that's there now. That requires more maintenance over time and less ability or ease to clean the wall. That's the problem you're having now. Is that correct with like the shrubbery?
Yeah, I think it's a multifaceted thing, not just a cleaning aspect of the wall, but the vagrant concerns, and then just overall curb appeal. I mean, to me, I saw these renderings and I was like, that looks a lot better. And as someone that drives by there, I go to Strings quite a bit, and
Yeah.
It's like I always see that, and I'm like, man, they really need to do something about those oak trees. And then a couple years ago, I started working for Beaches Energy, and I was like, oh, nice. We can do something about those oak trees, and they are a big problem anyways. So that was an eye opener, and being able to be a part of like redoing that to where I guess the rest of the beach community can actually be a little bit more proud of viewing that area and looks a little more curb appeal would be great. I think it was a good point. We had two spots that would be open when we came in. I'm proposing that we do not go back with the like the littler shrubs, and we just stick with just like one type of vegetation. Just from a maintenance standard, they come out, they cut the grass, they trim the trees, they leave. We're not doing too many crazy big mulch beds that just blend into everything. There's 3 different types of shrubs that are currently growing in there, and each of them. The landscaper, when he was out, he was like, oh, this is this type of bush and this is this type of bush, and I was like, oh, I guess they all are different, like you don't even notice how bad it is till you really start looking at it. And the overall thing is we should have never planted, and I tip my hat to whoever did this design initially. Like, it looked probably great before it grew above the wall, but that's just a concern. We don't traditionally build substations very close to any trees. Mainly there's like NERC certification stuff that you're not allowed to have a tree fall on any type of 100,000 kV line or better. You can get fined. That's a big no-no. But if you see like our big transmission easements, they're cut way back. We have two 138 kV lines that go into that substation. We could technically probably cut these back, but that's never been our stance. We do minimal tree trimming at best. This is just one of those situations where it being above the wall is affecting $6 million worth of assets, and we're just trying to do the best we can to mitigate that and just keep the costs low. And I do believe taking the shrubs out, and just one type of vegetation around it would decrease maintenance costs. I do like the idea of approaching them and seeing if there's like a native alternative. I would like to see that. I'll make sure to ask him, and whether it's a constraint or not moving forward, I'll definitely do that. Either way, I think it's a good idea.
Thank you.
To the chair, may I just make a quick clarification?
Absolutely.
My condition was not intended to keep the shrubs that are there, just provide some lower vegetation. The ones that are there are obviously problematic, so.
In addition to the trees.
Yeah, that was the intent.
And may I ask Christian, I'm looking at the mock-up. I'm guessing it's just to provide a little bit more contrast and variety in that space to cover the wall a little bit more, make it a little bit less stark.
Yeah, again, it was a function of, the trees are going to be good, I think, from a distance, but if you're on that sidewalk, and once the trees get above eye level, it's just going to be, trunks and not much else. And that is the right-of-way there is relatively average for all of Penman, but the distance between the end of the right-of-way to the actual wall is pretty substantial. So it seemed like there was an opportunity to put some ground cover and low shrub in there, or decorative grass, whatever, and still maintain a pretty good distance from the wall for maintenance. And that's why I said, some of the clumping larger native grasses are pretty easy to maintain with a string trimmer, so not really labor intensive.
Thank you for that. Any other questions from the commission? All right, I will now open the public hearing. I hope it is not too contentious today. Do we have any speaker cards?
No speaker cards.
I will assume that no one from the audience wishes to speak because there is no one in the audience. Oh.
Tell him no shrubs. Just trees. He needs to use the restroom.
That's allowed. I'll now close the public hearing and bring the item back to the board for discussion. Thank you. All right. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the conditional use with bring back the 43 medium-sized trees and fulfilling the landscaping plan as currently proposed.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have a second motion. We have a discussion, correct, Christian, before we vote?
You can, yeah.
Any commissioners wish to speak on the motion?
Yes. Does the motion include Nick's recommendation to add in 3 ligustrums along the 2 blank walls, as he suggested, along with his request or condition to ask for native grasses from his proposal?
No, that would be something we'd want to add to the motion if that's what we want to do. My concern, and maybe it's not valid, would be adding those bigger trees along that shorter section where he currently does not have it proposed, is where the sidewalk cuts pretty close to the wall. And I assume it was left out of that proposal, those trees at the time, because they would be really close to the sidewalk. I don't know if that's... Go ahead. Yeah.
The reason those areas are filled in and then not filled in, initially we went out for 25 trees for a cost-effective solution. We added the additional number to get up to 43 because we were wanting to meet city recommendation that all the trees removed we won't replace. And I was like, that sounds fair. That's an oversight. Let's do that. So that's where the proposal came from, 43 trees. And then the fill was set in such a way, the landscape architect put it that way. So it left those 2 voided sections symmetrically. not sure why they picked those out of anywhere else, but I think it's just a landscape design choice based on 43, which is just an odd number to evenly disperse.
But
Mhm.
yeah, for the motion maker, the plan that's where the canopy trees, the oak trees are with the shrubbery. So there is spacing there.
It does seem like there's space, but not a lot of space.
For the ligustrum.
The sidewalk itself is spaced the same from the other outcrops that do have trees presented in that design. The ligustrum should be able to fit right in there. That's
Yes.
the exact same distance. That
Yes.
winding sidewalk
Oh, I see. Yeah.
is the exact footage off that wall.
So, is there an amendment to, or is there? Would you like to change the motion?
I'd like to amend the motion to approve with condition that the landscape plan is met, including the 43 trees to replace the existing, and add trees in the
In the
area where
woods?
they're not currently included to make it uniform across the entire frontage of Penman Road.
Would you consider not adding trees but just distributing them to be a fair
Right.
compromise?
Absolutely, yeah. 43 trees
Distributed, so
distributed
there are
among
no
the
void
entire
spaces.
frontage.
I'll just add, that's kind of like the landscape architect does, right? So why don't you just say, however many trees you want, and let the architect decide, because he's out there looking at it, he's seeing where the sunlight is, where it isn't, he's looking at all that stuff. Or not. We're here to make sure that we're doing the right thing. Taxpayers' money, and that they're making a reasonable plan, because it's got a great consequence. If you want to do that, I see just in accordance with the landscape architect, however many trees you want.
I'm inclined to agree. What I might say is I would like to, in the interest of taxpayer spending and expediting the project, given that it's our assets that are kind of being blocked by being protected from this project. I might suggest an amendment to your motion, if you'd accept it, that might be softer in the language for to take back to the landscape architect our feedback that it would be nice to have the full coverage in the void space and to consider any native species versus sod or ground cover. Christian's also made an excellent point, I think, about additional shrubbery and grasses. And to these points, I would just say soft conditional language around the distribution of the ligustrums, consideration also of native ground covers, consideration of the additional grasses or shrubbery, if it's budget neutral and timeline neutral, would be the conditions that I would offer to your planning in that motion. The only thing that I can't square is that I feel like there's a moment in the future where we look at this and are like, what do we think about it? And I feel like that's a future citizens conversation. If they wish to improve it and don't think that this project is sufficient, I feel like the citizens can bring that to your attention, and this can be revisited for any improvements that need to be made. So that's my feedback. If you want to amend your motion on that point, if not, if you could restate your motion, we'll get a second for it and we can vote on it.
Through the chair, so you have a motion on the table that's been seconded that you're discussing. So if you want to amend the motion, you can make a motion to amend the
Yep.
initial motion, or he can withdraw his motion and make a new motion.
Yep.
For clarification. So however makes the most sense to you guys.
Or neither, whichever one you like.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I'd like to withdraw my motion, my previous motion, and make a new motion to approve the conditional use under the conditions that, in conjunction with the landscape architect, an approved landscaping plan is followed with similar features to what's proposed in front of us today, and that additional considerations would be brought to the landscape architect to consider native plantings and have the entire frontage of Penman Road covered by the minimum of the 43 medium trees.
So may I clarify that it's an approval motion with a commitment from the planner to discuss with the landscape architect the redistribution of the trees and the consideration of native species, provided it does not negatively impact budget or timeline.
Correct. That's the motion
It's
on the floor.
cleaner. That the second statement was easier to follow.
Yeah.
Okay, do we have a second, as long as everybody understands that motion, because it is a little bit tricky.
Let's state it one more time. Let's get it out here on
Can
the table.
you state it out of your, because you made the motion and I don't
Yeah,
want to
absolutely.
take words out of your mouth.
Motion to approve
His plan.
the plan per the provided landscaping plan under the condition that it will be considered to use native plantings and disperse the 43 tree covered across the Penman Road frontage as long as there's no adverse impacts to cost or maintenance accrued to the applicant
And timeline.
and timeline.
Is there a second?
Well, yes, there is second.
May we have a roll call vote, please?
Matthew Filer,
Yes.
David Dahl,
Yes.
John Linus,
Yes.
Lindsay Haga,
Yes.
Dean Haddock.
Yes. You're approved. Congratulations.
Oh,
Thank you.
Congratulations.
That was the. Well,
That was the amendment.
No,
Oh.
they withdrew the motion. That was a new motion. That
Yeah,
was
he
the second
withdrew
and done. So that's good.
Okay.
And just for clarification, there is a permit that they are in the process that they pulled. So when we review that, we can take that into consideration when we approve the permit. So
Perfect.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. May we have the planning department's report?
making sure we got it all ironed out.
I appreciate your help keeping us on the rails. Do we have a planning department's report?
Yes. So your next meeting is February 23rd, which, as decided at the last meeting, will be your organizational meeting to elect a chair and vice chair and any other items to consider that are procedural for the board. At the last meeting, there was a request to have the city attorney present some information on tobacco sales and regulation. I spoke with his office. We're trying to work out a time, probably March, maybe the second meeting in March, but I will nail that down hopefully before the 23rd, so I'll give you an exact date on that.
Thank you.
All I got.
All right. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
We are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.